All right. Hi, everyone. Oh, that was loud. We'll call the meeting to order because now it is 6 p.m. And everybody is good with the agenda? You can see everything okay? Yeah, okay. So we'll still start off as usual and do roll call. So I know it's not on our current agenda the way it was in the old one, so I'm going to sneak and use the old one just so I don't forget anyone. Fred Edison. Here. Regina Gorham. Here. Kyle Hibbard.
Just arrived.
Yeah. Dr. Lene Powell-Wilson.
Here.
And so Patrick emailed Luis and I. He's not going to be able to make it tonight, and we just need a motion to approve and an absence for him.
I'll move to approve an absence for Patrick.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. And a second?
Second.
All right. And then we've got Ryan Walker.
Present.
And Catherine White. All right, wonderful. So next, adoption of agenda. Were there any updates, additions from anyone that anybody saw or Luis that have come in the meantime?
Yeah, just something that I neglected to put on the packet. Kaylin Humes is here with us today from Community Homeworks to present end-of-year report about the O'Connor Fund grant.
Awesome.
So if we could add that on there.
Would you like to put that between the adoption of the agenda, or do you want to put it after the approval of minutes, or do you want to do it before approval of minutes?
We should do it before.
Okay. All right. Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
Second.
All right. I heard Fred first, but Lene used her microphone.
Mic'd up.
Oh, it is on. Okay. I heard you this way.
I just spoke too softly.
Yeah. All right. So then that means you're up.
I do have copies of the end of year report for everyone. So is it okay if I hand it out to you guys? Or?
I can come down and get them so you don't, I'll come get them from you.
Okay,
That's okay.
Thank you. So first, I'd just like to thank everybody on behalf of Community Homeworks. We really appreciate you guys having faith in us to kind of walk this pilot program out. We had some really positive results and really positive feedback to share with you guys. But first, we wanted to start off saying thank you. So we recognize that there's a strong intersectionality between historic preservation and what we do, which is critical home repair services. And most of the homes that we serve here in Kalamazoo are usually between 70 and 110 years old. And so it seems like this was a perfect match for us to partner in some way. So again, we can't thank you enough for trusting us. We are proud to report that we did meet our goal. The goal was to serve 5 households with the $10,000 from the O'Connor Fund. So we did meet that. The earliest home that we served was built in 1911. So it was, there were a lot of just wear and tear that had happened on the home. And so I know the homeowner really appreciated once we were able to connect with them. They thought this was the coolest thing and were like, hey, however I can help, if I need to share my story or anything, they were just so willing and so appreciative of this. So there's another thank you for that as well. The average age of the 5 homes that we served after we calculated was 92 years old. We were able to serve 3 households on the north side and 2 households in the Edison South Side neighborhood. The really great thing about the O'Connor Fund, through Community Homeworks, we do use a lot of federal funds. There's a lot of red tape with that. With the O'Connor Fund, it really presented a great opportunity for us to leverage those funds with other unrestricted funds that we had. And so having that 10 grand there that we were able to combine really had quite the impact on homes. And so we're hoping we can continue to do more of that in the future. Another really great thing that happened, it just seemed like everything was happening at the same time, but we were able to get some really great exposure about this grant too. Encore Magazine actually did an article about us, which was perfect timing, but it was just really cool to have that opportunity to share that with the community. And there have been so many people who have come up to us at community events or just staff members like, you work at Community Homeworks, right? Like, tell me more about what you do. So it really opened the door to have that conversation and talk about an issue that I don't think a lot of people realized was an issue for families here in Kalamazoo living in older homes. And then we want to thank Louise as well. You did an interview with us last year, and that was one of our top viewed YouTube videos. And so it was great. We got tons of questions and just it opened really good dialogue for the community. So we appreciate you making time for that. But it's, again, just bringing something to the surface that people didn't realize was an issue. So we really appreciate that. So you'll find in the report, we put in kind of our outcomes for 2022, including the outcomes for the O'Connor Fund. So I believe it is on page 5. You'll see the detailed breakdown of the years of the homes built. There's stories there too for each individual home. And we did get permission from each of the homeowners to share without putting personal information on there, but they, again, were very supportive of just getting the word out there about this, so they were willing to share their stories with us. Let's see, what else is here? I believe that is all that I have. I do want to open it up if you guys have any questions. I'm here to answer questions, or if you think of anything after the fact too, just reaching out to us at Community Homeworks. We're willing to sit down and talk to anybody, but we're hoping that we can continue this partnership going forward. So thank you.
What were some of the repairs that were done?
Yeah, so we did, it's really a little bit of everything. There were a really extensive plumbing repair. There was a family that was not able to use their only bathroom. There was literally no running water. They turned it on and it was just a drip, not even a steady stream. And so we were able to take care of a tub and shower repair utilizing this grant so that they could bathe in their home. We were able to do some HVAC repairs, so like furnace and water heater repairs, some electrical work. There was a really large project where the O'Connor Fund really helped with this because we had to be creative on how we were going to get this family heat. But there was an old diesel furnace that was in a home, and it was blowing soot all over the house. And not only were they without heat, but they had just had a newborn baby. And the mom and the child had to couch surf for a couple months because you couldn't be in a home with no heat. And then with just the air quality in there, it was quite the scene. But with it being a diesel furnace, it wasn't just a simple, let's replace the furnace. We had to get them gas lines. We had to clean up all the soot. It took quite a bit of coordination, but the O'Connor Fund was instrumental in that, so that we were able to utilize that to take care of one of the pieces so that we could keep moving forward in that project. Then we also did some carpentry work, both interior and exterior. There were a couple window repairs and porch repairs, and then some like indoor stair repairs as well.
You know what? Go for it.
Thank you so much. This was
Yeah, of
great. I
course.
love getting this packet. It's wonderful to see what came of the funds, and it sounds like it was a pretty good fit for us and for you guys as well. Is there anything, looking at the fund's future, we're hoping to do more things like this. Is there anything that would have made the process easier for you?
Honestly, no. It was a really easy process because even the approval process, we just had a form to fill out, sent it to Louise. He asked any questions if we needed to clarify anything, and then within usually was a couple days, he'd have that approval right back to us. So we were still able to move really quickly with these projects as well. And then I can't stress enough, just having access to those unrestricted funds, it really is a game changer for a lot of the families that we serve, whether it's time and then just not having to, or being able to combine it with other funds to leverage and complete a larger project.
Great. Okay. Well, great. It was the first time we did it. And
Yeah.
it worked well. So thank you so much.
No, of course, of course.
So I refresh my memory because okay. Yeah. How did you get the people's names and the candidates for it? And what were some of the, did you have a large number of specific things that were needed? And like kind of a cost thing?
Yeah, well, the way that we got the names, we have a critical home repair program, and so a lot of the families that we were already like planning to serve and had completed our application were good candidates for this funding as well, because like I mentioned before, it's all of the homes that we serve are between like 70 and 110 years old. I think there's been 2 or 3 homes that have not fit within that timeline. But that's the way that we kind of got connected with them. And then our team kind of decides what funding we use for each project. And so it wasn't like the homeowner applied and was like, I want you to use O'Connor funds on my home. As a staff, we made that decision. And then what was the second part of your question? I apologize.
Well, I just wanted to know for future. So, like, if you have a lot of HVAC issues, obviously they're more expensive. But were you using the grants that you were receiving, and just like if you have 50 cents over, you would put in the O'Connor fund to make up that difference so that you could finish a whole project?
Not usually. With the O'Connor funds, we were more intentional about, like, during our meetings, we would say, okay, this is the repair estimate that we have. It's going to be $1,800 to complete this home. And then we decide from there if, do we want to use all $1,800 from the O'Connor fund to complete this project, or do we want to combine it? So with some of the larger ones, if it was over something where we still wanted to meet that goal of 5 homes, we would just have that conversation and see if we needed to move it around any certain way to fill the difference. But I think it was we were creative with it, so just however we needed to make it work and utilize the funds, we just tried to make it work.
I can really appreciate that, and happy to hear that. You didn't earmark it just for specific things, and you kind of spread it out. So thank you for that, and thank you for helping, those in need. So
no, thank you guys so much. Yeah, for recognizing the issue and helping to fill that gap. I keep hitting the mic. I'm sorry, but yeah, there's such a. I think for a long time there's been that gap between. Families staying in historic homes but not knowing where to turn, and then sometimes there could be like under the table work being done or something, and so to have this here where people are getting reputable work done, we're using all licensed and insured contractors, and making sure that we're following the specs that are given. It's a really good outlet so that we can make sure people are taking care of their homes as well, or able to take care of their homes. Any other questions?
I was going to say another thank you. And also, it seems like from, and the Encore article is great, love it. But it seems like these projects on the 5 houses, while it's not a ton of houses, might represent kind of roughly what you see when you're getting applications for the home repairs. Would that be about right, that that's kind of the span?
Absolutely. We see a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it's, anywhere from now with, it's getting a little bit warmer outside, but the cooler weather is where we get a lot of like no heat and no hot water calls. And so that's what we've really been tackling the last few months. But the spectrum is so huge on the types of repairs that people apply for through us.
Yeah. Did anybody else have any other questions?
I have one more, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry.
So, how many of these calls are going unanswered because of lack of funds? I know, I'm sure it varies, and it's a hard question.
Yeah, we've been really intentional the last, I would say like 2 to 3 years of making sure that we've got funding throughout the year so that there's no gaps in services. And so I think before those 3 years, we really had one funding source. And so when that was out, we would just have to put people on a waiting list and say, hey, we'll call you when we get more funds. But again, we've been really intentional about not having gaps in services. So starting these pilot grants and figuring out like how to fill those gaps so that we've got a continuous service availability throughout the whole year. We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Great, okay.
And so the last couple of years that hasn't happened, which has been really great.
Well, great job to you guys. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as many of the commissioners have said already, thanks for all the work that you do. I'm sure that Pam would have been here tonight if she could, but I think that she's on vacation somewhere. Okay, I think that she's on vacation, or else she would have been here, and I'm sure that she'll see the video of this or something, and we can forward it to her as well. Looking at the packet that you put together, it's crazy to think that this was formally signed on the 22nd of February 2022, so almost a year ago. I know that I just came on about a year ago, but I think this is something that you all wanted to do for a long time, so it's great that we were able to make that happen. So thank you so much for partnering with us and making it a smooth transition to get everything going. I'm sure that we'll look in the future to see if we can do something like it again and keep the work going. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you. You too. And I think we have it digitally in the packet, but there's an extra one of the printed ones, Luis, if we wanted to give it to Pam. Yeah. I think she'd want a printed one, yeah.
So we can pat ourselves on the back. We did something
That's
awesome.
true. That's true. We did. Yeah, I remember reading I think in the Encore article it has a little bit of a synopsis, and not that we do any of this to feel good, but it did make me feel good that we were able to change things for people. So yes, thank you. Thank you again for making that. Yeah. We appreciate you too. Thank you. Bye. All right. Yeah. If we want to do it again, we haven't talked about it yet. I don't think it's up in here as a conversation point, but we could talk about it in March. But yeah, I had the same thought when I also saw the date and went, oh, that's almost, it's almost an anniversary. So I think it should go on the March agenda to talk about for sure. Yeah. Okay. Approval of minutes. Going a little bit backwards from the way that we normally do things. So these will be the minutes from December 14th. Luis, I didn't see any note on here about how it was my sister's birthday, and it doesn't matter that I said happy birthday because she's not watching. I didn't see that noted down.
Sincerest apologies.
Question on 6G, about the middle of the paragraph where the first workshop, there will be a 12 participant gap. I guess I didn't understand that.
Probably supposed to be cap, so I'll correct it.
What's the word?
Cap, I'm supposing.
Cap, okay. I tried, I knew it had to be a different word, and I couldn't think what it would be.
Good catch. Were there any other questions or little updates, Kyle? Did you see anything?
It was just capitalization, bolding, and tabs, which, I don't know, if they really matter that much.
If everybody is okay with the 6G update to change gap to cap, we just need a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I approve as amended.
All right, second?
Second.
All right. Public comments. I guess we technically still already had them, but is there anything else?
I would have interpreted that as more of a guess, but
Well, that's
just
true.
because I forgot
Fair.
about it, but yeah.
No, okay. All right, then financial report.
Yeah, as I noted in the email, I'm not sure what happened with the generation of the financial report. Sorry, I'm scrolling so much. This month rather, so looks like I didn't include it. Everything was just zeros on it, and I think it was a computer glitch. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was a rollover thing going into the new year or not. We reached out and no one had a firm answer for us. So I can just provide an updated report with next month's packet that hopefully reflects accurate balances.
Thanks, Luis.
Yep.
All right, discussion and action items. The wonderful annual report that Luis put together. Luis, do you want to talk about it a little bit, or?
Yeah, reading it right now, I can see that I have one holdover from last year's report. Obviously, I just used the same template, so I apologize for the COVID-19 language because I don't think it's terribly relevant anymore. So I will scratch that second paragraph upon editing. I brought it to us this month because it's supposed to be submitted to the city commission, or the city clerk rather, by March 1st. So this would be the last chance for us to look at it before it goes on. So please excuse the edits. I probably wrote in haste some of the time. Pretty standard stuff. We did not write a book last year, but we did sell the rest of our stock of the book to Kazoo Books, which I guess is supporting historic publications and just historic booksellers in general. There were 3 nominations of properties to the National Register of Historic Places, which I thought was great. I have the letters hanging in my office because I just love them so much. It's very cool to be able to look at them. Parkland Village, the Upjohn building, office building, and the Gibson Guitar and office building. So I think that, take some time to reflect on that. I think that's awesome that we were able to do that. Those are 3 great and unique buildings that show 3 completely different sides of the built fabric here in Kalamazoo, which is just really awesome to me. As far as education went, I think that's where we're at. Yeah, this language is also just taken from the ordinance, so if there's edits that you guys want me to make to the format as well, I can certainly do that. I think one of the biggest things that I thought about when I came on board, and it seems like something that we're also interested in, is looking at obviously increasing diversity and inclusion in historic preservation and being able to tell a holistic and comprehensive story of the city of Kalamazoo. And I think that that's been ongoing through the DEI subcommittee that we have working with SHARE. And I think that as we continue to go on, I'm sure that we'll try to find new ways to do that in more effective manners as well, and the CURPEC things too. Educationally, in other avenues, we did not hold any workshops this year, but we are holding them this year, which I'm very happy about, and we did have gravestone cleanings, which I consider to be an educational activity. I don't know if other people do, but I do. We did have the Historic Preservation Awards of Merit this year, which I was happy about, and we were able to have them in person, which I thought was great, and we were able to have them at KNAC, which I also thought was great, as they wanted to host us before, and we were able to go there. Looking forward to those again this year. Side note, I'll be putting out the call for nominations for that at the end of this at the end of this week, so I will share that with all of you, and try to use my networks to get that widely distributed as well, so we can cast a wide net and see who we can get that's interested in applying for those awards. There's language here about the 106 agreement, and just looking at what I reviewed. Inventory Kalamazoo 2022, a nice rhyme, is another thing that we're obviously engaged in. Didn't make as large of a dent in this last year as I wanted to, but hopefully moving forward we'll be able to do more with this and tackle it down a little bit more. In my opinion, embarking upon a project like this that's so large does not give us the opportunity to celebrate in a timely manner because of the size of the project. So I think that moving forward, there will need to be a very distinct phase approach that's implemented so we can take the time to step back and celebrate when we do complete a neighborhood or a smaller section, have something to share with SHPO, and have something to reflect on and evaluate ourselves. Otherwise, I fear that we'll be spinning our wheels for a while, and I don't want that to happen, and I don't want the morale to go down on a project like this because it is important. It's truly the basis of all preservation work at any level. So I think that that's going to be the smarter move for us to get more bite-sized chunks, if you will. As Caitlin just came in and said, we launched something this year that was completely novel, and that is being able to gift and grant money. As Caitlin just so nicely presented to us, they did get $10,000, and they did use that money to help with their critical home repair program, and I think that's great because it also supports preservation in a non-traditional manner, at least different than what I think most people think of when they think preservation. We're also able to do it outside of a lot of historic districts, which I also think is great because so much of the work that I think about is confined to those 5 areas and those 2,000 properties, when in reality there's properties that are at least 50 years or older throughout the city, and I think that they all deserve to be looked at and cherished as well because they are all very special and they all also tell different stories. As you guys were alluding to, I hope that we can do something like that again, and only time will tell, obviously. And we are also working to get the granting program off the ground here soon as well, and hopefully that'll also, do good work for other partners within the community, nonprofits obviously, and help them preserve old buildings. There were no workshops, as I said, but we are working on it. I think that, we were just, we were regrouping last year. That's a very good way to put it. Grave Issue Squad, as I alluded to earlier, so I can erase one of the instances of this. We did have 2 cleanings. I can't remember the exact number, so I'll find it, but it was well over 20. I want to say 27 off the top of my head. I think we had 15 at one and 12 at the other, but I would like to verify those numbers. Now we get down to the concerns and recommendations, and I wanted to reach out to you all for help because I don't want to speak on your behalf regarding concerns that we have. So I don't know how you want to do it, but I guess I'll just open up the floor now to see if anyone has any concerns that they think are worth putting into the annual report that the HPC feels there are with preservation in the city, specific sites. And I think otherwise, too, is a fine thing to have a concern about, general or groups. And you don't have to dig deep and find anything if you don't find that there are any legitimate concerns.
What if we think of some and then think of more later? When do you want to submit this?
If you guys could get me concerns by mid next week, so Wednesday next week, that'd be great.
Okay.
End of business.
Okay. I mean, I think some of the concerns that we've had in the past I guess we haven't talked collectively necessarily about what concerns might be. I think that probably still the land on the corner of Drake and Stadium with the railroad abutment might continue to be a concern, but the house is lost now. That was torn down. So we haven't as much been looking at those sorts of things. I mean, I have a few in my head, but I would be speaking for myself and not necessarily for everyone. And then I think when it comes to recommendations, recommendations specifically for sites or?
Well, does anyone else have any concerns
Yeah,
that they'd
sorry.
like to voice?
There, at our last Sarah board meeting, was brought up about Kalamazoo Avenue being closed off, barricaded. I didn't quite understand it totally, but it has to do with the reconfiguration by Coleman Solis. And again, that might be a realm of transportation and stuff, but it does affect the land and stuff in that area around it and the homes behind the St. Augustine Church will be impacted, especially if some powers that be get the stadium in that they've been pushing pretty hard for. It's supposed to be a stadium in where that funeral home is on Kalamazoo and Michigal.
I can't speak for anything, but I do not anticipate that Kalamazoo will ever be permanently closed. So maybe I misunderstood what you were saying, but I don't think that we could
It was brought
close
up
that
as far as
door.
using that Michigal for buses. Jay talked to us about that.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if that's a concrete enough thing to.
It's in the works. It's
To hedge. Yeah, and I can't speak to it.
Okay. It's just bouncing around at
Yeah.
there. It's like everybody kind of went, what? You know, they're making it two-way, Kalamazoo.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what their thinking was. One idea was to close off the end of that by just past the railroad tracks. And
So I guess I don't understand. Close off Kalamazoo.
Do you mean at where Michigal?
You mean close Michigal?
I understood it, but.
I don't think that we could close Kalamazoo personally, because it's a main
look how many
thoroughfare.
cars- Look at how much of an artery it is.
Yeah, I don't think Kalamazoo is going to close
No.
at all. But I don't know, because I'm not on the traffic side of things, so.
But they're talking about that whole triangle of land there and what's gonna go along Michigal once it's closed off, because the streets go two-way and,
Michigal is only a street that was invented in '65, if memory serves correctly, so.
Yeah. That's when
that
they
when
went
they
to
went-
one-way
is that when
streets.
they went one-ways or 65?
Yep.
So it's not that old.
Thank you, though.
You're asking what concerns as the commission we could be looking.
Wide interpretation, as wide as you all would like to make it.
So I just think that in the next few years, we really need to concentrate on some of the other cultures that had derived out of Kalamazoo or implanted themselves in Kalamazoo, and that's just something that we're working toward, and to be able to work with other organizations in the area so that we could elevate those cultures as well.
Certainly.
Isn't there a carryover list at one of the ends of the reports, even from Sharon's time, like she'd highlighted which ones we'd done tours of? Is that something we need to think about in this circumstance?
I think it could be looked at like that, certainly. Becomes interesting to me Yeah, I mean, I could find it and share it with you all, yeah. Those were certainly properties that were, I think, primarily downtown that were vacant and then were becoming occupied as time went on.
I think there is an even further back list that we may have gotten rid of in a rework of the packet long before Luis. BL before Luis. So I think there was like a mix of that list along with other properties that were like concerns because of like development, or a lot of schools were listed on there because KPS was doing a lot of like construction work or planning out of things. So I think there's two lists that we could potentially draw on if we wanted to look at and see if that is still something that we agree with, more or less.
I just figured if there's a starting point, then it's easier than just trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys don't have to be put on the spot either by any means. Like Regina asked, if you guys want to send stuff to me and have time to be able to mull it over by yourselves as well, feel free to do so.
Yeah, you said mid next week?
Wednesday, end of business,
Thank
if you
you.
all could. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
Luis. All right. Wednesday. And
We can just call it,
Wednesday.
you guys can have till 11:59 Wednesday, because you all work, and I'm not going to try to, I forget that this is my job and it's not your guys' job, so.
Well, thank you, Luis.
Yes.
I will send it to you, even if it means I'm just setting the email to send at like 11:59. Yeah, I might be asleep, but I'll set it to send.
I certainly will be. And then any recommendations, and again, I don't think that we need to confine ourselves to think about this in any way, but recommendations probably that align with the duties that are given to us by the ordinance that you all can think of. And again, this can be the same email if you guys wanted to. If you guys could just put headings that say concerns and recommendations, please.
Yeah, did anybody want to share any now, or are you thinking, this is a muller of mine, which I have been doing since Luis sent out the report. So I will probably be an emailer, but if anybody else has thoughts that they'd want to throw out.
I've got something about Historic Preservation Month and coordinating with neighborhoods. What can be done in the neighborhood to accentuate Historic Preservation Month? I know we're got the clock fixed at Woodward School and communicated with that, but we're planning a presentation about that, and I just wondered if there's a way to dovetail that with this Historic Preservation Commission. I don't know what's the procedure about linking those two together. Just do it.
I think that you all here have the power to make the creations in that realm regarding the neighborhood level of things. I do think that it's great to try to look at it at the more granular level of the neighborhoods because each one is unique, right? So being able to highlight those separate things that are important to the neighborhoods would be a great idea. So I guess as ideas become more conceptualized and you think things out, you could certainly pose to the commission, hope for research for that if you guys wanted to, if you're going to be looking at giving a talk. And as you flesh it out more, I think that could be certainly something that you present to the commission for support from your fellow commissioners.
Okay.
But I think that's a great idea because each of the neighborhoods is inherently different, and each of the historic districts is inherently different as well.
Well, if nobody has anything else that they want to add to the report now, be sure to send Luis by end of literal day next Wednesday your concerns and recommendations. He would appreciate it. Thank you, Louise, for putting it together too.
Of course.
So if that is all for that one, then next we have the very exciting officer elections, because this is my second to last meeting, technically.
Before
So-
we move on,
Yeah,
I know you said you're still editing, but I did notice that in the conclusion, there's a sentence that's literally just Kalamazoo, like period, Kalamazoo, period.
Just think it's some moving. No. I'll go through and edit it.
And then also, in the appendix, didn't we have an individual award? I feel like we're missing.
Yes, you're right, Pat Henry's. I need to put that on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And sorry, just to add on to Kyle, there's like, and you're gonna go through it, I know, but there's a lot of like year mix-ups.
Actually, yeah.
Okay,
Gear mix-ups, you said?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like where it says, see next page for 2020 and
Yes.
2021 historic preservation.
Year mix-ups. Okay.
Year,
Yes. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
year, not
Yep.
year.
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And I can send it all out to you all again. I just wanted to make sure that we had
Of course.
time to discuss it and look at it, so I do apologize.
Sorry to be nitpicky.
No, not at all. I appreciate it because obviously I don't catch them sometimes anyways, so I will correct them.
good job, everyone.
Yes, I do appreciate you. As Regina was saying, though, we did neglect to have the elections last year. This will be my first time as you all go ahead and do elections. Regina, as she also mentioned, this is her second to last meeting, and so we'll be losing a commissioner and a chair. I did not anticipate not having a meeting last month. I also did not plan to have the elections last month, so that doesn't really matter. I did, however, plan that it would be great if the new chair would kind of be able to have Regina as a safety at their first meeting and Regina's last to help guide them through some things as they lead their first meeting. So that's why we're doing them this month instead of last month, which would be Regina's last. Just some background on the entire situation for you all.
And has there been applications for new board or new commissioners? Or do we need to put a call out, or how does that?
I think it's in the works right now. To be honest, I'm not all the way sure. I know that CPED had a lot of positions for different boards that we were looking to get positions for. This hat was in that arena, but I'm not sure if anything's been submitted thus far. So probably in the coming weeks, I will go back to that with a little bit more intensity and say that we need to put out the call. I was probably being a little bit too lax on it because I knew that we were going to have Regina for this last month anyways. So it becomes very tight when we get down to 6 commissioners because this board requires quorum of 5. That's not to say that's not something that we couldn't change in the bylaws, but as it stands right now, for any business to be conducted at all, we need to have at least 5. So that means you only have a padding of 1. So that's a very good point that you bring up, Catherine.
So technically, Luis, you call for a motion from the floor.
Me?
Yeah, remember? We did all of our Robert's Rules sleuthing and we figured out how to do it.
I know, but I don't think that I'm technically part of it at all.
No, well, okay. Do you want me to do it then? Okay. So we're gonna do chair first. So how we'll do it is, unless everybody wants to do a ballot vote, we'll do a voice vote. And, run down the line like we normally would, which I think that, Luis, you do.
I'll do the
lead,
roll
yeah.
calls, yes.
And you can nominate yourself, you can nominate somebody else. If somebody else has nominated you and you're like, no, thank you, then you can say no, thank you. And we'll go until we get a new chair and a new vice chair. So,
Please don't elect Regina, obviously, because she won't be here.
yeah,
in
I'm
the
sorry,
months.
I won't
And-
count.
I guess I would say if we don't come to a consensus this month, we could always push it again till next month.
Mhm.
I am not sure on the rules of voting for Patrick right now as he is not present. That would mean that he's not able to decline a nomination. So just to keep that in mind. But
Yeah, I mean, he can't decline, so
You're
there's
right.
that too.
I'm just bringing it up, so without
Yeah.
further ado,
Yeah.
you can march on.
Yeah, so if we don't, why don't we try it out, see if there is a motion to nominate anybody for the position of chair of the Preservation Commission. And then we'll go from there and see where we get.
I move to nominate Kyle for chair.
I second.
I think you have to approve or not.
Kyle, what are your feelings? You accept the nomination?
Figured this might be coming. And I hesitate to accept just because I have a lot of change happening in my life at the moment, so I don't want to commit to something I don't feel like I might even be here to fulfill. So I would be more comfortable staying as vice chair, but if no one else wants to take chair, I will assume the duties and we can deal with changes as we need to later.
That is very kind of you. So with that being said, though, and for anybody who's concerned about being chair, I mean, really, the main thing is just running the meeting and making sure that, you know, we hit all our points and that we're okay. Sometimes you have to talk to Luis, but, you know, you do that anyways, so.
Ew, gross.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. If, you know, if anybody's concerned about that end of things, it's really not, it's not too difficult. But Kyle, since you are the one that has been nominated, does anybody else want to nominate someone for chair in light of what Kyle shared? Oh, man. No? Okay, so do you want to accept? Because you can.
Let's do
you
it.
Can't, are you sure? Okay. All right. So then is everybody comfortable with a voice roll call vote? All right. You're up, Luis.
Dr. Powell Wilson,
Yes?
Walker,
Yes.
Edison,
Yes.
Gorham,
Yes.
Hibbard.
Don't I abstain?
You can nominate yourself. I feel like you could vote for yourself.
It's allowed. I should go over those Robert's rules, maybe.
It's coming.
When's that retreat?
It's coming.
Yes.
And White.
Yes.
Okay. So Hibbard did accept the nomination and was duly elected to the position of chair. Thank you.
Congratulations. I forgot the other gavel tonight. I will bring it. Sharon's gavel. I have Sharon's gavel. I'll bring it to the next meeting.
That also means that he gave up the vice chair seat, so what a lateral move. Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, so, well, and technically, I guess I don't run the meeting anymore because now Kyle's chair. How do you feel about that, Kyle?
Is it effective tonight?
Technically, effective.
Technically, yes. You're like, I didn't sign up for that. I don't.
I'm used to being the backup.
But I think that if whatever we're comfortable with for the rest of this meeting will be okay.
Yeah, I leave it up to you.
I'll defer if
Okay.
we don't have to
all
change
right.
seats or anything.
Okay, I'll keep going. So then is there a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Ryan.
How does Ryan feel?
I accept.
All right. So, To a roll call vote again.
Someone need to second the nomination.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I
I'll
forgot
second.
that. Thank you, Catherine.
Mhm.
See, I'm out. I don't have to remember how to do stuff.
That's fine.
That's Kyle's job now. All right. Yeah.
If there are no other nominations,
Yeah, sorry. Is there anyone else? No?
okay. Dr. Powell Wilson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Edison,
Yes.
Gorham,
Yes.
Hibbard,
Yes.
and White.
Yes.
So, you have been elected. We have a new chair and vice chair.
It's exciting.
And I'll be in touch with both of you following up, and we can meet as necessary to discuss what this means for both of you. Thank you both for accepting the nominations and stepping up to those roles. I do appreciate it.
You still have to reschedule our grave squad subcommittee meeting, so. Same crew.
It is, wow.
And if you need any, it's not that difficult, but if you want to talk over anything, let me know about chairing. So, or vice chairing, because I've done both of those now, so just let me know.
I have a question. Are we on term?
So I'm at the end of my second consecutive term of 3 years. So you can serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms in a row, and then you have to rotate off for a year,
It
I
gets
think.
hazy after that.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
would need to go back and check the ordinance.
Yeah, check the ordinance, but you have to be off of the commission. I could reapply, or anybody could reapply to
think
be on the
that's-
commission.
Truly inferred.
That is
I
inferred.
don't think that that's explicitly stated.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because you still have to be accepted, of course, by the commission and then appointed again by the mayor. So it's, yeah.
And I can
We
send
are
a list
on
out to all with where their terms stand right now. Not now, but I can send that out tomorrow.
Because I know I started taking over someone else's term.
You did, you were in between. It was Josh's. Josh would have been done at the same time as me because you came on when Josh left Michigan, I think.
I was
No?
here before that.
You were here before that? Oh, man.
And I can pull that all up and send it out for all of us to look at.
Memory's hard.
Well, that's why I was asking, because I think I'm coming up on year 4. Because I was here.
You're still good. You only have to worry when you hit year 6.
And like I said, I'll look and pull it all.
Watch your 6.
Yeah, watch your 6.
So there's no uncertainty that I have that Sharon prepared, because all of you started, well, not all of you started. Patrick and Ryan started after I started, but everyone else started before I started, so I'll pull it up and look where we all stand.
How long have I been chair? Since Josh left. Josh was the last chair. I was Josh's vice chair. So, a couple of years. Was Josh chair going into COVID? Right? That's what I thought. Yeah. Oh, there you go. August. Not very long, yeah. Not very long, technically. Okay. So back to Luis. Second half 2022 106 report.
Yeah, and I didn't do quarters this time. I just did halves, because halves is what I submit to SHPO, so I wanted you guys to get the real McCoy. I don't think that there's really anything that's of note. I did try to go through and make it look pretty this time because it was making me go crazy last time, so I tried to make everything consistent. I'm not going to read this all out to you. I trust that you all read it prior to the meeting, so if there's any questions that you all have about anything, I'd be more than happy to field those questions.
Your report already answered the question I had when I initially saw it, which was, why are there so many?
Yeah.
But all I had to do was read it. So, did anybody have any questions for Luis on any part of the section 106?
I guess I do, considering the Community Homeworks representative was here, but how do these properties coincide with the Community Homeworks, or do they, or could they?
They can. So any property that's listed CHW or Community Homeworks is a Community Homeworks project using funds that they were given by the federal government that were also found to be National Register eligible or within any level of a historic district, which usually overlap in Kalamazoo anyways. One development that I found this year is that the SHPO does not recognize potentially historic study areas, so I do not recognize them anymore either, which significantly cuts down the list of things that need to have true 106 review, or that I have purview over reviewing and providing a recommendation for. So that's just something to consider.
Does anybody have any other questions? That was a good one, Ryan.
Just what does KNHS stand for?
Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. And
Okay, sorry. I wondered that for a while. Should have asked before.
No, not a problem, and I'm sorry that I didn't put a key at the top of it. And I guess to go back to Ryan's question too, I don't know if you were asking about if both of the funds are going to be used on the same one. I can't think off the top of my head if there's O'Connor funds used on the same projects that would have been using federal funds. I'm not sure about those funding mechanisms and what restrictions they have on their end. I do know that anytime they were using those O'Connor funds, they did adhere to pretty much the Secretary of the Interior standards. So something like demolishing a house, that's the easiest example that I can think of, would not have been an approved project to use the O'Connor funds on. But yeah, obviously from looking at the report, and like I said, CHW is Community Homeworks. They are one of the biggest contributors to this list, certainly.
Yeah.
I have an adjacent question.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know, I'm assuming that the federal funds that they're receiving for community homeworks are, like, they need some sort of match? And if so, does the unrestricted funds, like a la the O'Connor Fund, count for that match?
I'm not sure.
I should have asked that about half an hour ago.
That's a dive that I could do and try to get some answers for that.
Just curious, because that's like a really tangible way to say that the $10,000 is being amplified like much further. If that could be used
Twice,
for,
yeah,
right,
definitely,
exactly.
yeah.
If that could be used for match funds.
I'm not sure.
We could email her.
Yeah,
Caitlin.
maybe. I just am curious. Just
I never
Okay.
thought about it that way, but that does give a lot more leverage to the funds.
Yeah.
I think that there were times when I was thinking that 10 grand isn't that much, but if you look at 20 grand is more than 10, and I think that just the impact of being able to use them in a creative way might even up the value even more. Maybe not monetarily, but it does logistically
Right.
when trying to figure out a project. And I think that Caitlin alluded to that as well when saying that there were creative solutions that they had to come up with when they were trying to solve some of these problems, and this helped, so maybe it can help more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Another
thank you.
good question. All the good questions happening tonight.
There's no bad questions. They're all good.
All right, Luis.
People should always ask questions.
That's true. Okay, were there any other ones for section 106?
It's kind of dry, I recognize.
Yeah, real dry. So next we'll go to the Historic Preservation Coordinator's report. Also Luis. You're so popular, Luis.
Yeah, this one's probably kind of dry too, and I apologize. I didn't have a lot to say, and I didn't just want to put in fluff pieces. We came to the end of a year, obviously. Woohoo! We all made it through a year together, so I think that that is worth something, and maybe you guys haven't figured out by now, but I am big on celebrating things that you all do, and I think it's important to keep the morale up and recognize that you all are doing good work, so thank you all for a year of good work last year, and congratulations for making it through the year as commissioners and as people, so I do appreciate that. Obviously, there's some boring stuff, like we still need help with the survey, and as I get more updates, I'll provide you all with them. Obviously, regarding moving forward, we did get some funding for analysis work, and as that continues to develop, I'll continue to talk with you all about that. This might be a good place for me too to say that we will be having the workshop this weekend, the first window workshop. Oh, how, thank you, Lene, so much for the help that you put into that. We had 12 people sign up with rapid speed. I was pretty, yep. We actually had 13, so there's one on a waiting list, but we can only take 12. I figured I'd keep one on the waiting list in case someone drops off. But I was really impressed with how fast we got filled up on that, especially considering how close we kind of were to the workshop happening when I was able to publish everything. So that's wonderful in my opinion, and I'm really looking forward to that, and hopefully it's one of many more that'll happen throughout the year. I'm gonna put faith into the computer system, but if not, that's on my list for tomorrow, is to email stuff out to people. So we were able to tap into Parks and Recs, recreation. Those weren't mean air quotes, but I think that's just what it's called, and it doesn't describe it, I don't think, fully. But it's like their new sign-up system for all the camps that they do. So we were able just to piggyback off that, which I thought was great, so we didn't have to set up any new software. Really excited about that. Next Monday, we're going to have a standards and guideline update meeting. It doesn't necessarily apply to you all that much, except for its historic preservation. It's more about the district side of things. You all are more than welcome to come if you would like. I know that I haven't told you yet, but it's on a Monday, so I know that that's maybe not the best or most fun night to come out to a meeting, but I thought that that was the best night just for scheduling and things like that. It'll be at the Van Dusen Room at the Central Branch of the Kalamazoo Public Library at 6 p.m., so that's the 13th of February. I'll give a presentation just about, I hesitate to use the word audit, but kind of just a walkthrough that I did of the existing standards, things that I think are working, things that I don't think are working, and just kind of talk through that with the public, and then allow them some time to also comment and have some discourse regarding that. It's going to be about a year-long process for me to revise those standards, but hopefully when we come out at the end, we'll have a nice, pretty, efficient document that everyone's going to be able to use to navigate the process of working on their historic homes in the city of Kalamazoo.
Luis, backing up to the item before, the window workshops in what building?
It's at 916 South Park Street.
And just to, I know Pam sent this email, and I'm sure that you've already thought about this extensively, but for the HDC guideline updating, I'm sure they'll still abide all the CLG requirements, so we maintain that.
Yeah, I'm glad that Pam emailed me because that wasn't one that I thought about, so I will have to reach out to the CLG. It becomes more of a philosophical question when I've been looking at the HDC things more and more. Ultimately, you do not have a lot of room to wiggle. I don't mean that in any way than just being completely transparent with you all, that you are completely beholden to the Secretary of the Interior standards generally by enabling laws, and then you are also beholden to the ordinance. So I think that there are some things that can certainly be changed, but I have pretty good faith that we'll still be aligning with everything. I spoke with Alan Higgins and I spoke with Amy Arnold at SHPO, and I will be sending them the versions that we come up with because ultimately they have to sign off on them before we can start to use them. So thank you, Pam, for bringing that to my attention, because I do obviously want to be in compliance with everything and make sure that everything's tip-top before we get moving on them. My main goal is to make something that I think is up with the times. There's new technologies that have come out. Just one off the top of my head is like solar energy is not anticipated at all before. I think that's a relatively low impact, reversible change that can be made on certain faces of a building. And the document just needs to be revised for readability as well, and I think that there needs to be instructions for people. I was telling someone today that I think about 90% of the people that I probably work with have gone through the process before, so it becomes second nature to them. They are contractors that know what they're doing, or they're homeowners that have lived in the homes. The other 5%, this is me just making up numbers, reach out to me because they probably receive a letter when they move into their home in the historic district. Those last 5% though, which when you're looking at 2,000 properties, I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of people, they might not know what's going on. They might look at the standards and guidelines and get scared away from them because they don't know the process. I don't want that to happen, and I don't think that the historic district is a barrier for someone to work on their home or anything, and I also don't think that there's any firm no's. It's never been my opinion that there should be firm no's built into standards and guidelines. by nature, a guideline is something that's just a guideline, and it has to come to the Historic District Commission. So it's never, you cannot do this, but it's, the guideline probably would not suggest that you do this, but it does need to now go to the Historic District Commission for approval. That was a long-winded answer, but yes, it will.
I think it's great, and I think it'll be nice to have public comment and hear kind of what the pain points are.
Yes.
And, you know, if you could decrease some of the communication issues and all that, while still, you know, or whatever you can do, wiggle room to make it an easier, while still, you know, of course, getting Amy and Alan's approval and all that.
Yep.
It's great.
So
Thanks.
those are truly my hopes. The last stuff on here is just the numbers. I didn't put last year's, but we were pretty close. I'm not sure how good of an indicator that is sometimes, especially coming out of a pandemic, comparing numbers from year to year. These numbers are also going to be radically different than when Sharon was here, because I think that there were things that I take to the commission that she didn't, and that she maybe, well, I think it actually only goes that way. There's things that I take to the commission that she didn't, which I've come to accept as understandable in my new role. So there's that. It's pretty much all the news that I have. Maybe I'll start putting pictures back into the coordinators' reports for you all, because that was one of my favorite parts. So,
I think we like them too.
okay, it's a nice little send-off, you know.
I do like the Happy New Year,
Yeah,
but that's noted in there in other news.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is other news.
All right. Thank you, Luis. Does
course.
anybody have any follow-up with Luis, other than, I mean, we've kind of just been talking about it, so. No? Okay. Are we on to commissioner comments? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Does anybody have any comments?
Just thank you to Regina for being our chair for the last bit here. You will be missed.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next year, right? After
Yeah, I mean, well, you'll see me next month still,
Well,
but.
I know, but then a month, 1 year from then, and we'll-
Right.
Big wink face for Luis. So.
No, Luis will be like, don't let her back on. I don't want to deal with her.
I didn't say that. I just want to be on the record.
Yeah. All right. Would anybody like to move to adjourn then, if there's no other comments?
I'll move to adjourn.
All right, Fred, here. Bam, 7:08. We did it. Thank you, everyone.